next item that we're singled out is item, same page 7, 0742-16. This is regarding a contract with Rodney Blackwell. Okay.
Item 074216, a request from the Executive Director authorizing a second amendment to the development agreement between FDP, MR, LLC, Rodney A. Blackwell, the City of Racine, and the Redevelopment Authority of the City of Racine regarding the Machinery Row, subject to approval of the amendment by the Common Council. Recommendation of the Finance Committee is that the Council approve and authorize the mayor and the city clerk to execute the amendment to the development agreement to the Common Council. Fiscal note, the second amendment to the development agreement extends the time frame for the existing development agreement to December 15, 2016 in order to allow the developer additional time to address development issues and secure a third-party loan for the development. Developer will replenish the established mortgage escrow in the amount of $22,500 to pay a quarterly interest payments of 1% to the city for the mortgages established in the previous agreement. City and developer will enter into a purchase agreement where FDP will donate a half of its interest in the 5.57 acres of land in the redevelopment site for the city, and the city will purchase the remaining half interest in the land. The proceeds received by the FDP from the sale will be escrowed for the use at the sole discretion of the city to pay for the costs related to the property to redevelop the Racine, the River Promenade and associated public right-of-way. The city will be reimbursed for the $470,750, half of the purchase price for the land plus eligible real estate cost by the Knowles Nelson grant. Closing costs will not be reimbursed and will be paid from the account as listed. And there is sufficient funds available.
Okay, thank you very much. Alderman Perez, go ahead.
Who are the chairman and executive director?
Mr. City Administrator.
The chairman of the RDA at this point in time is Greg Helding, and the executive director is Amy Conley, the city development director.
Thank you. Okay. Alderman Widener, please.
Thank you. I have a question for the city administrator. I would have liked to hear from the mayor, but he's not here. So I'd like to hear from the city administrator. What are the 3 best reasons that you can give this council why we should support your request to extend this?
Okay. Not sure there are 3 best, but the best reason is that we embarked on an idea to redevelop a piece of property on the lakefront that had been underutilized and not productive for the last 30 years. And we did so with our eyes wide open, knowing that it would be a difficult task. We set a goal of having that project start last fall with a developer, and everyone went about it anxiously and eagerly thinking we were going to do that. Many things have happened along the way that have delayed us. So delaying the project does not mean our goal has changed, does not mean our ambitions and desires have changed. It just means we're going to have to wait a little longer to get it done. The biggest underlying reason is that the developer was able to secure $9 million in tax credits to help with this project. And without those $9 million, this project will be extremely, if not impossible, to complete. By extending the timeline, we gained a little more time. We set the deadline of last year to have it done, to have it started. It was our deadline. We wanted to propel him and make things go forward. It just didn't work out. By extending the timeline, we don't lose anything as a city, and we still maintain the ability to ensure that those tax credits will be usable when the time comes for construction. So I think that's the biggest and best and most important reason that we ask you to go forward with this.
Follow-up question is in regards to the purchase of the property that we will be purchasing with the Knowles Nelson grant. If come December 15th, the developer has not secured whatever it is he's going to secure, when we get that property, when we become owners of that, would we become owners of the property we're about to buy regardless?
We will become owners of the property we're about to buy when we close on it, which I hope will happen very shortly. We will close on that land along the lakefront right away. That will become the city's property, and we will be reimbursed from that from the Knowles Nelson grant. So there'll be no cost to the city to acquire that property.
But if we end up getting the properties that he purchased with the money that the city loaned him, we
Right.
would be getting this property anyway.
If we were to foreclose on the mortgage, yes, we would.
Okay.
And that would, in foreclosing on the mortgage with FDP, would then preclude our ability or his ability to acquire the $9 million in tax credits.
Okay, thank you. Before I make any comments, I want to give others an opportunity to ask questions or speak.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions or comments on this item? Any other questions or comments? Okay, Alderman Shields, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Unfortunately, I'm not in a position to support this because I think we're in between a rock and a hard spot. And until reality sets in and I can see more concrete evidence that this is going forward, I might support it then.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? I have no one checked in electronically. Alderman Widener, go ahead, second time.
Thank you. Back when we first voted on loaning the money to FDP LLC, I was one of the people that voted against it. At the time I voted against it, I said that once the majority of the council approves moving forward with granting this loan, I'm going to be 100% behind it. And believe me, I have 100% tried to find a good reason to support this extension. However, every which way I turn, I get reasons why I cannot support it. One is his first extension expired April 30th, and here we are 4 months later talking about giving him an extension for the 4 months that have already passed. Mr. Blackwell, or FDP, has not done one thing that he said he was going to do. When he's asked, do you think that this project is going to go forward? He says, yeah, I think so. He has done nothing to instill any confidence in me that what he said was going to take place is going to take place. So for those three reasons, I cannot support granting the extension, even though I know that any developer is going to need those $9 million in tax credits in order to make this project move forward. I just don't believe that there is a developer out there ready to partner with Mr. Blackwell.
Thank you, Alderman McCarthy.
Thank you, Mr. President. As the city administrator indicated, this project is going through a rough patch, and I can assure you there's no love lost between me and the developer in this particular case. The pragmatic side of me, however, says, why close the door now? This door is going to close on its own if it's going to need to close by the end of the year. I don't see the need to vote against this and basically say, let's just turn our back on the $9 million at this point and try to start without that in our back pocket. I'd like to see us preserve that for a few more months, have the opportunity for the project to go forward. Unfortunately, we are with a developer that I don't have a lot of faith in either. However, I don't see any value in closing the door at this time, so I would support this extension.
Okay, thank you. Alderman DeHaan, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. One of the things I observed in the interview we had with Rodney Blackwell was that he's bringing on board another partner with him to bring move forward because of Blackwell's overextended, I think, to a point. But the impression I have is that this gentleman is finishing a project in Milwaukee, and he's coming forward. And I think it's important that we support this project and let it go, because if we lose the $9 million, it ain't coming back. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Coe, go ahead.
Well, most of the comments I were going to make were already said, but all I can say is I'll give you 9 million reasons why we should do this for another 4 months. Thank you.
Alderman Shakur, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, I have to echo that also. To give up $9 million in this development, what is it? If it comes to its completion, $65, $80 million, I think we would be wise to support this. And as mentioned by colleagues prior to me, that, well, let's let it go to its course to December, and then we'll take it from there. But we need additional revenue. We need tax base expanded, and this is one way to do it if it comes to pass. And yeah, I'm disappointed as much as anyone is, but I tell you what, I don't think we should take the chance of of losing $9 million or possibly even $65 to $80 million. So this would be something we should definitely support at this point.
Okay, thank you. I have no further speakers. Alderman Shields, second time.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Unfortunately, things happen, and I think critical issues like these, we should have had this discussion as council on the whole behind closed doors. We talk about economic development. We closed down a great opportunity that would show the public that we're trying to make economic development when we didn't support the CVS project. So we talk about economic support. We look at all the things we have closed that an organization coming in with their own money. This particular gentleman have no skin in the game. And so I'm just saying, critical issues, we should talk about this behind closed door and wash out everything that need to be washed out with a clear understanding. That's why I'm voting against this.
Thank you, Alderman Morgenroth.
Thank you, Mr. President. Truth is that complicated real estate deals nearly always tend to unravel near the end. This man has not traveled, Mr. Blackwell has not traveled up here for his health. He knows exactly what's going on. We got to give him 4 months to put the pieces together to make this thing work. I'm in favor of this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Widener, this is your third request to speak. We need to suspend the rules to move forward with this. Pardon?
I have a question.
That's fine. Go ahead.
Thank you. My questions for the city.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you. My questions for the city administrator. I had asked the question, I had not yet gotten an answer as to how much Rodney Blackwell had been paid in project management fees over the last year and a half out of that escrow account.
Out of the escrow account that he set up with the sale of the property?
Correct.
I don't have that information exactly.
Okay.
I make a motion to suspend the rules so I can make a comment as to that answer.
Motion has been made to suspend the rules.
Any objections?
It's not debatable. Can we set up for an electronic vote on this, please? Yes, we're going to vote on it. Yes. There's no debate on it. We're going to vote electronically, so there's no question as to the outcome. And it requires a 2/3 vote to carry.
Actually, any objection would.
This will just be a second here. Okay. The yes vote is 11. That meets the 2/3 requirement. So the rules are suspended. Alderman Widener and others may speak
Thank you.
an additional time.
Thank you. A little over a year ago, the then alderman of the 15th district raised some concerns about his inability to get information from the administration. There is a lot of things that happen behind closed doors with this development, and I think that the council needs to be aware of those. For example, Mr. Blackwell has a development going on in Waterloo, although it's come to a quick stop, in part because he had historic tax credits at stake too, because he went beyond his deadlines. The City Council of Waterloo had to borrow or bond for $20 million rather than the $13.5 million that he originally proposed when he had the historic tax credits on the line. So it's not unusual for a developer to lose those tax credits because he does not get his ducks in a row in a timely fashion. Mr. Blackwell borrowed money from the city of Racine, cut a different deal with the sellers of the property, set up an escrow account for him to draw money out of over the last year and a half. I had no idea that I should even have asked the question of the administration if something like this would have happened. When this came to light, this is where, the city administrator kept saying to us, the council, well, he's paying his interest payments. He paid his interest payments with money that he took from the sellers that he renegotiated after we loaned him the $4.5 million. So in essence, we are paying that because we loaned him that money. I want us to have our eyes wide open about what kind of a developer we're giving another extension to. He didn't even have the respect for this city or this administration that negotiated with him or this council to come before us within that first 4 months when his extension had expired. So I understand the alderman of the 9th District wanting to keep that door open because initially I felt the same way. But I'm also afraid if we continue to put our skin in this game, in a game in which he has no skin except ours in, the end result is going to be the same, only we're going to have more invested, just like they did in Waterloo, which required them to invest even more. And I think it's just time we stop and go back to the drawing board, go back to the state and beg somebody else to, give us a $9 million tax credit, however we want to do it. But this developer is not going to deliver. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else care to speak on this item? Any further requests to speak? Okay, seeing none, the vote then is going to be on a second amendment. Oh, Alderman Shakur, go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm not disagreeing with what's been said, but I tell you what, I don't want to lose $9 million or $65 to $80 million over the situation. If there's another, if we keep the LLC in place, if Rodney don't work out, Mr. Blackwell don't work out, we can go a different route. There is still hope here. But I tell you what, to vote no on this, that's a bad thing for us to do because we need the tax base. We need to expand it. And for us to vote this down, that's not going to be good. I think in the long run, even though things have been working out the way we want them to, a no vote would be devastating.
Thank you. Alderman Coe, please.
Yeah, about 6-7 years ago, I tried to get the city to buy all these properties. We could have got them for a little cheaper price. And the reason why I say we should have got it, we have no place left to grow in this city. We can't grow. Our borders are tied. The only place we have is the water. And to pass up something like this now, worst case scenario, we wait the 4 months, this pans out, we get our $9 million in tax credit, and it's a good thing. Worst case scenario is we have our property back for another developer. But then we have to go through this all over again for the $9 million. And I think if we vote this down now, it's just going to sit longer. If we let this go till December, there's that possibility that this thing is still going to go and we get the $9 million in tax credits. So I still think we need to go forward with this.
Thank you. Alderman Shields.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Once again, I at this point, I think I have a little faith in our administration that they will come up with a solution. you know. But if you're talking about turning down tax dollars, once again, we turned down CVS, which put their own money into the game, had a tax base. So when you talk about what's good and what's bad and we should make these decisions, we should be informed totally of what we're voting on. And I feel strongly that the administration, our city mayor and the city administrator and whoever else would like to work with them would come up with a solution.
Thank you. I have no requests for speakers at this point. Anyone else care to speak? Okay, we're looking at item 0742-16, Second Amendment to extend the development agreement for Machinery Row. We are all set to vote electronically. The motion has carried. Thank you very much. 742-16 has carried. I believe that wraps up the items for second consideration. Alderman Shakur, would you please read the remaining items from your report for us?
Thank you, Mr. President. The first item we got remaining is on page